Hi. This today's topic is about um, why the humans misses up to 80% of the experience while incarnated. So this is about a person who came through a quantum hypnosis healing session, and when her higher self or her guides were called in, so this is the information which they provided. They said the soul path includes both the incarnation and disincarnation, or outside the incarnation. So, a soul may incarnate into a physical body or may experience the reality as a non physical being, right? So, that is incarnated and disincarnated. And some of the favorite forms, soul might take multiple times, like so the human has been the most difficult as experienced from inside the incarnation, but from outside the human incarnations it is the most beneficial, and oddly, the most enjoyable from outside, even while it is the hardest from inside. This is the uniqueness of human incarnations. It feels so very different while it is happening than it actually is when viewed or reviewed from outside of it. It is one of the most sought after and enjoyed once the spirit is outside of it and can reflect and review it. Partially because of the complexity of it, the human is unable to experience the full complexity while inside of it. They tend to miss the 80% of the experience. Once outside of the human limitations, that spirit can get the other 80% of what it actually happened or what actually experienced. And so, from the soul side, it is such a profound and complex and joyous experience. Then the question comes, is it the complexity that makes it so enjoyable? So they answered, yes. It was developed or built for the purpose of serving both those inside of the incarnation and as much it serves those once they leave the incarnation or outside the incarnation, because so much of the understanding then can be present or be absorbed or be utilized that cannot be by the spirit while encapsulated in the human limitations and thinking distortions and all that comes with being incarnated. The other, up to 80% of the experience of being human, is then utilized, absorbed, and studied and enjoyed from outside of it. Then the practitioner asks a question. I'm curious about that up to 80%. Is there anything we can do to get more of the understanding or enjoyment while incarnated? Or is that by design that we miss that much while in it? They replied, this is something that happens and increases with the maturity level, or what you know as the soul age. As the soul experiences or ages through the human pathways and wisens, it can notice more of the experience, understand, absorb, and utilize it. But even the most advanced souls will not get all of the experience while incarnated. There is simply too much, and it's somewhat impossible from that perspective. One must be outside of it to see it all. From inside, there is a limit to the perspective. Then the question comes, which makes me think we choose limits to come in with. Is that true? They replied, there are limitations chosen in addition to the limitations by design. When there is a container of any sort, it is by definition a limit. The world and human body and frequencies involved with all of it are very much a container. In order to create the experience, it must have a container. that is, its own system of limits, as well as each spirit that incarnates has its own hopes, dreams, lessons, and trajectories of experiences, and with that comes specific, unique containers. This, in part, why it is very difficult to truly experience all of that, what is happening. You could see it as layers and layers of containers or limitations. So, how one can really know or understand what is really going on when you are inside of several layers of containers, right? Here you can imagine like each of us inside a bunch of our own containers, limitations like those nesting dolls or Tupperware. And I realized this is also why we feel so alone and separated from Source and have a difficult time connecting to the oneness aspect. Then the practitioner asked the question. That makes sense. And that makes me think we don't really need to worry about it other than learning as much as we can. But there is a constant feeling of missing something. Higher self laughs and says, yes, you are. Then the question, we are. So instead of looking at it as a problem, higher self interrupts and says, you will get it. You have all the time in the universe to get every little nuance of each lifetime. And you will. You spend much time in between you spend much time in between incarnations studying and experiencing and getting the rest of what you did not and could not get from inside of the experience. Thank you.